Welcome back into the Enrichment Sports Source. Thanks for joining us. We got Jimmy Himes here, we got Bob Hodge here, we got Josh Ward here, and over there at the WIPE board, we have a list of where the talent has come from in this year's SEC signing day class. On the left is by state, all right? Georgia led with 52 SEC signees, Florida with 50. Now, Georgia, they usually lead, and people think that's odd. The reason is there are only 3 FBS schools in Georgia. There are about 9 or 8 in Florida, so there's more competition. A lot of people can go into Georgia and grab their players. Mississippi has 38, but that number is inflated thanks to all the junior colleges. There are about 10 junior colleges down there in Mississippi. Texas, 36. I'm a little surprised the SEC hasn't really pounded Texas as much more than they have. 16 of those were to Texas A&M. So only 20 went to the rest of the SEC. I expect that number to grow. Alabama 27, Louisiana 25. But look there, Tennessee typically is down there in the Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky range. 17 SEC signees this year. Josh, I'm going to turn to you because you also do some high school football stuff with WNML. I think when you look at the numbers of the last 2 or 3 years, high school football in the state of Tennessee has improved, and you are starting to climb. Is this year a high water mark, or do you think the line is going to continue to move forward?
Well, I think it's an indication that it could be improving. Will it have this level of talent every year? That might be pushing it. There's also line talent. Derek Barnett comes from the mid-state. Jay Robertson, Michael Sawyers, those guys are from the mid-state area, linemen, so they come in and they play a key position in the SEC. But the talent's clearly improving. That's why it's so important for Tennessee to be able to recruit that part of the state, the mid-state. Last year, Jalen Ramsey, he barely even listened to Tennessee. I think part of that was he didn't feel very valued by Derek Dooley. He goes to Florida State, starts as a freshman, helps them win a national championship. Von Bell, early in the process, didn't feel like Tennessee made him a priority at all. Butch Jones gets in there late, but it's too late. So he goes to Ohio State. He plays a key role as a freshman. I'd say both of those guys could have started last year at Tennessee. So it's very important that they don't let guys like Hurd and Malone, you're not going to get them all, but to get several of those guys, especially if you are going to see an increased level of talent.
And in recent years, one thing we've seen guys out of the mid-state, Auburn, Alabama, even Ole Miss. Obviously, they get Memphis, but Auburn, Alabama in particular have had some success in the mid-state over the years. It seemed like Auburn had a streak there of about one a year from Brentwood Academy back in the day. You didn't see that this year. You saw Butch Jones close the borders. My question for you, well, I'll tell you what, hold the question. Let's go and show these numbers while we still have time. Over there on the far right, the red listing, that's the percentage of each school's in-state class. All right, so Tennessee, for example, 31% of their class was from inside the state of Tennessee. Highly unusual to get that many kids from Tennessee. Texas A&M led the way. 72% of their class was in their home state. Mississippi State, 65%. Florida, Ole Miss, Georgia, LSU. Down at the bottom, Kentucky, only 14%. They had more kids from Ohio, like almost 3 times as many kids from Ohio as they did Kentucky. Vanderbilt, only 13%. Alabama, only 25% from in the state, but that's only because they got the number 1 player out of every other state in the country. All right, now, having seen that, the question. You've seen Tennessee kind of shut down these borders. These numbers, it usually goes one of 2 ways. If Tennessee doesn't sign in-state players, there's a group that says, you need more people that bleed orange. If Tennessee does sign in-state players, there's a group that will come back and say, you can't recruit nationally anymore. Who wants these in-state guys? So do you take this as a big positive? Is it just one good year? How do you view this?
Put me down for it as a big positive. If they can keep that number where you can recruit inside your state and get a third of your class, more or less, I think that's a good thing for Tennessee because that's going to free up more resources for you to be able to go out and recruit nationally because you say, hey, we're going to sign 20 this year. We've got 6 of them right here in Tennessee, so we can spread out a little bit more. So I think that's a good number for Tennessee.
I think even if you just had a quarter, it'd be an improvement over a lot of years.
It's a good number if your in-state prospects are getting better, and they are.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a good number. And depending on which recruiting service you look at, Tennessee got either 8 or 9 of the top 12 players in the state. That's a really good thing. That hasn't been happening lately.
That hadn't been happening
Tennessee,
in a long time.
We looked at it on MrSEC.com, the top 10 players from every state, and the one school that got 70%, the only school that got 70% of its top 10, University of Tennessee. Nobody else owned their own state the way Tennessee did. Now, obviously, that was aided by James Franklin's departure. Josh Ward, you finish us out. What were your overall take on this class?
Well, they got elite talent at the top, playmakers that they need on offense. Malone and Hurd, Von Pearson comes in. The biggest key probably for the immediate future is that 14 of them come in early. And I know Butch Jones has talked over and over about that, but they bring in 2 tight ends. They need help at tight end. They need Dontavius Blair to start at tackle, so he comes in the spring. There's a better chance that those guys can help right away. And I just think they're a more athletic team after the class. The Berry twins come in. Think about this, 2-3 years ago, fans were desperate to land Evan and Elliott Berry. I still think they're nice gets, but they're just a part of the class. I think that kind of shows the strength of it.
Shows how far things have come. All right, Josh Ward, thank you. Folks can hear you Monday through Friday, noon to 3 with Will West on the Sports Animal. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
And when we come back, you're over here now, aren't you? When we come back, Mark Pancras is going to tell us what Tennessee is going to do differently when they face Florida this week than what they did when they got crushed by Florida down in Gainesville. Coming back on the Richmond Sports Source.
You are watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television.